Well, I think I'm live. Oh, this hair. Ugh. COVID hair. Okay. All right. Carol, you're here. Can you hear me okay? You can give me a thumbs up or type in, say yes, whatever. Oh, I see I'm fuzzy right now. There's Deb. Yeah, I'm not exactly calm. We've been rushing around this morning trying to get that refrigerator going. All right, I'm just going to wait a minute or so to see if we can get some other people on here. I'm looking at my laptop and I'm pretty fuzzy on there. I look clear on the phone, but I hope we have good reception. I don't know what happened last week with my phone, but looks like everything's working okay. Okay, great. Yeah, people are coming on. Yeah, Deb, my husband put the replacement circuit board in and it appears to be running, and we just have to wait and see if it cools off properly. I think it's going to be fine, but it takes a while for it to get down to temperature, and then we'll move all the stuff out of the coolers and into the refrigerator, and life can proceed as normal. I will be really glad to get rid of those coolers. We've been tripping over them in the kitchen all week. So, hello to everyone. Yep, everybody's trickling in here. Today we're going to make a little birdhouse, little copper birdhouse that you saw in the picture. And it's really quite easy as long as you have all the things that you need to make it. Yay, fridge. That's right, Jennifer. I may go give it a hug afterwards. You really don't realize how much you depend on things until you don't have them. So I'm going to have a higher respect for my refrigerator. I always hated that refrigerator because when we built this house, the way the kitchen is designed, a standard refrigerator would have stuck out into my room like another 5 inches. And I didn't want that. I thought that that would look funny with the arrangement that we have in there. So we opted for a smaller sized refrigerator. And I thought, oh, we can get by with that. There's only 2 of us. We don't need all that room in the fridge. Well, there hasn't been a day gone by in 7 years that one of us hasn't said, I hate this refrigerator. And we were kind of loving it while it was not working. So I'll have a little bit more respect for it now. So anyway, we're on the road to recovery. So I wanted to show you the copper one that we're going to do today, but also some variations. And that's something that you can decide if you want to do, to add on. But this is the one we're doing today. And then I've got a couple others that I had done in the past. And this is one that has, it's a vintage piece. up here at the top. It's a copper, no, it's not copper, it's brass tree limb, and it wants to turn around on me. And then I put a hole in the bottom of the birdhouse. I had seen a picture of something like this that someone had done. I don't know when or where or who, but I thought it was really cute. So if the one that we're doing today, I'm not putting a hole in the bottom, but all you'd have to do is put a hole in the bottom to achieve that. This is a copper coupling that I etched, so you can get some other texture designs in there too. That's kind of cool. So that's one. And then there's another that I did the same way. I think it was etched as well, but then I put that that Impress Arts pen on here. And well, actually, no, I don't think it was the Impress Arts. I think this was a vintage patina because I think this was out before the pens came out. So that's another option, you know, to put one of these little birds down there if you want. You can do tons of different things, just, you know, whatever floats your boat. So those are my variations. And for this project, you need a copper coupling that you can get in the hardware stores in the plumbing department. Sometimes they're sold just like this with a little UPC sticker on them, or they come in a little baggie like this. And they come in a couple of different sizes too. So this one that I'm using for today's demo is it's a 1/2 inch by, I think it's 1 1/4 inch long. And it'll be on my handout to be accurate. But they also have the littler ones, which this blue one that I showed you is with the smaller coupling. So you need those, and then kind of corresponding discs to make your roof and the bottom of the birdhouse. And on this one today, I'm going to use a 7/8 inch copper disc, top and bottom. And if you use the smaller coupling, this is a 1/2 inch disc that you'll need for top and bottom. Okay, so just to keep that in mind. But all the stuff that I'm telling you, well, the majority of the stuff that I'm telling you will be on the handout. When this is over, I'll post it. But just on a side note here, etching these things, these couplings, is really kind of a cool idea because you can do a lot of different things with them. So there you go. All right, so I'm going to put these aside. And the first thing that we're going to do, hello everybody. Just want to say hi. We've got a nice group of people. Hello to everyone here. All right, I'm going to flip the camera down, and the first thing that we're going to do, hopefully you can see everything okay and hear me as well. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, I need to get these back here, is clean our copper. And only in the respect that, you know, sometimes, I mean, these are generally pretty clean when they come out of that bag, but if you don't buy them in the bag, if they're loose, then, you know, they've probably been, well, they'll have a price tag on them, so you'll have to get all that sticky stuff off of there. So like Goo Gone or something like that will work just fine. So anyway, I'm just going to give them just a light go over with some steel wool. This is the 404000, 4 zeros, and just get some of that oxidation off of there. Oh, and the other thing I want to tell you is when you buy these couplings, I've not seen them without some little number or letter stamping on here. And I guess maybe it's the company that puts them out or whatever. but we have a little fix for that. So we're going to be making a little nameplate for the birdhouse, and we're going to solder that over those letters so you won't see that. So you have to make sure when you're going to put your hole in the birdhouse that you position it in the area where the letters are, so that way it's in the right orientation. Okay, so we're just going to give that a little clean. And I will stop and check for questions periodically. And let's see here. Get my copper disc as well. Well, I should have two of them here. There we go. Just give them a little clean. Because when we solder, we want our metal to be clean. And I know I'm going to be touching it and stuff, but I think a little bit of that is going to be fine. It's just the stuff, the oxidation and stuff, that I really want to get off. Now, sometimes when you make your own discs, they kind of bow just a tiny little bit. But I really like to make sure they're flat, so you might want to pound those down on a steel bench block with a rawhide mallet or nylon mallet or something, just to make sure that they're perfectly flat, no curve in it, at least for the bottom piece. The top doesn't matter because we're going to dome that anyway. Okay, so I've got that done, and get this out of my way. All right, and let's see here. Think. Okay, the first thing I need to do is put some texture. I want to put some texture on my birdhouse. Okay. And the easiest way I've found to do this is just to put this on a ring mandrel. And I like to use a texture hammer. You could use stamps if you wanted to have some design stamps on there. But this is fairly easy. It just gives kind of little lines, and it kind of looks like wood when it's textured. So I kind of like that design. And I'm just going to lay this down here on my table. You guys can see okay, right? I think you can. Okay, and I'm just going to give it a little tap, little taps for making the lines, and it's going to be a little noisy for a minute. Well, maybe that's not so good on the table. That's pretty noisy. That's better. The idea is that you are actually making marks. It's kind of at a disadvantage because this is tapered, so I don't have the full pounding, I don't know how to say that. It's not even. But to solve that, you can take this off after you pound it a little bit. There we go. And turn it upside down. And then get the areas that you didn't get so well on the other side. If you were going to do design stamps, you'd probably want to anchor this in a vise so that you have both hands free to apply your designs. I guess I should have my cheaters on so I can see a little better. That would help. Okay, so that's enough of that. All right, so now I want to put my hole in here for the birdhouse, like that. Okay, so I am going to just eyeball right below the letters. Well, not right below, but about midway, maybe a little bit more below the letters. Just kind of mark it with my Sharpie there. And I'm going to take a center punch, little center punch, and make a little divot in the pipe, because I'm going to use a drill. So you just want to make that little starting spot so the drill doesn't run away from you, because it will just skate over the metal, and you don't want that. Okay, so the next thing is I'm going to use my drill press, and I have one of these little Eurotool drill presses. I'll show you that in a second. And this little nifty vise that you can buy as an add-on for your drill press. And you tighten that in there real well. If you don't have this and you happen to have a pair of channel lock pliers, this works real well too, actually. That's what I used first, and then I remembered I had this. So it's really pretty sad when you don't remember that you have certain tools that and what's even worse is when you buy them again when you had them. So that's pretty sad. But anyway, you could hold it like this and get a nice firm grip on this, and you can drill your hole that way. It won't get away from you. It's serious business when you're using the drill. Stuff can get away from you, fly around, spin around, hurt you, cut you, whatever. And you want to take good precautions when you're using tools and motorized equipment. Okay, so like I said in my demos, this is not my workbench area, so I kind of bring everything over, and it's not the ideal, but you can at least get the idea of what I'm doing. I want to get my water out of here. Take a sip first, because I don't want any of the copper filings going into my water. All right, so I have my drill press here, and it's just a little one. It's put out by Eurotool, and sometimes you have these things if you have a housemate, a spouse, somebody that has tools, you may be able to use something that's already in the house, but I like to have my own stuff. So anyway, I've got that positioned in here. I am using a 5/8 inch drill bit, twist drill, for making the hole. You could use, a 3/32 or something smaller, but I liked the size of the hole that this twist drill makes. So I'm using that. Okay, I'm looking here. Antoinette, what gauge is the copper disc? I am using 22 gauge in this. You could use 20. I have a lot of 22, so I tend to use that a lot. It depends on the project, really, but this copper pipe is probably 20 gauge, I would say. But whatever it is in the store. You can't be picky, but this works fine. So okay, so that's that. All right, so I'm going to drill this, and there are bolts that come that you can put on here to secure this to your drill press, but I didn't put them on because I'm only using it for this, and then I probably won't use this again for eons. So all right, so I've got my little divot here ready to go. I'm going to turn on my drill press, and then I'm going to pull it down and make my hole. In the world of safety, you probably should bolt this down, but I kind of do my own thing. So, but I'm not advising you to do it that way. So safety is always the biggest concern. All right, so I'm going to turn this on, put it out full blast. And just pull the little lever down. Turn it off, and voila, beautiful hole. Okay, easy enough. All right, scoot that out of the way. That's all I need that for. And untighten this. Take that out, and then more than likely, well, actually that's pretty clean. But if you got copper filings that were stuck around here, well, there are some in this inside, then I just take a round file and get in there and kind of clean that out a little bit. It doesn't take much. Okay. I did not drill through both sides. I stopped before I went through the other side. I was paying attention for the moment. Okay, so that's pretty good. I might give it just a little touch with my sanding stick, but it really doesn't need anything else. Okay. All right, so now what I want to do is make my little plate, my little nameplate on here. And this is just a little piece of copper scrap. This is also 22 gauge. And measurement size, you know, it kind of varies. I made it just big enough so that it covers those numbers or letters up here at the top. But I'm just going to stamp the word home, excuse me, home on it. So it's just 4 little letters, so I don't need a big piece. And let's see here. I'll get my letter stamps. I really love this Impress Arts, the Juniper font. There's lots of different ones. I have a few other different ones, but I always tend to go to this Juniper. I really like it. And I'm going to use all lowercase on this. So I am going to find my H, and like I said before, always double check when you take your letters out before you stamp. Normally what I do first is write the word on the little piece. I think I didn't tell you. I think I was starting to tell you the size of that piece, and I got focused on something else. Distracted, I should say. The size of that piece will also be on your handout, but the way I measured it, it's like about 3/16 of an inch by 1/4 inch, or if you want to do millimeters, about 6 millimeters by 16 millimeters. Okay, so that's just an idea of the size, but really, you know, that's entirely up to you. And I forgot my tape. I need to get some tape, so hang on just a second. All right, at least it wasn't far. All right, so actually this is kind of big. I wore a long sleeve shirt today because it was a little chilly earlier, and now I'm starting to get warm. Al, could you turn that fan on for me over there? Thanks. I'm glad he just came down for a second. Okay, so I'm going to just tape this little piece of metal. But this is really tiny to work with. And I'm not going to get all fancy with, you know, drawing a line and all that stuff. I just kind of drew my letters on here just kind of as a guide. But it's just such a small little thing that I'm not going to spend a lot of time with that. and it may show. I don't know. Anyway, what I was saying about making sure that you line up your stamp in the right orientation so that, you know, like if you're doing an E, it's not sideways or whatever. But I always look, and I know most of the stamps companies will stamp the letter, the individual letter, in the front of the stamp, and you want to orient that towards your body. Okay, so you want that, and that's in the right direction. However, I have found a couple of times, I don't remember which brand or whatever, but the stamp was labeled upside down on here. So that kind of like throws a monkey wrench in your plans. So that way, that's why I say just always double check your stamp before you hit it. All right, so I'm going to just put that on there and miss and almost hit my finger. Okay, I got that. And pick the O and not the Q, because that I've done before. I think we've all done stuff like that. But you know, if this, if the letter placement isn't perfect, I see this more as a whimsical piece. So, you know, that sometimes adds a little charm. Now, see, this W looks like an M to me. I would say I put that in the wrong spot. Okay. That's why you double check. Okay. Give it a whack. And same with the last one. Okay. Got that. Okay, so now it curves a little bit. Boy, I did not think this thing out very well. It curves a little bit because you've just displaced the metal by hitting it, and I don't have my mallet with me. But this is such a small piece, I can fix that with my fingers. And I'm going to take off the Sharpie mark. And then I want to just sand the corners a little bit. Just file the corners a little bit so they're not sharp. And I think it looks nicer anyway to just always file your corners a little. Gives it a nicer finished look, I think. It doesn't take much, especially for a piece this size. I think I hit that and made a boo-boo on there. A little blurb. I may hit that with my, let's see here. I must have hit it with my hammer right on the edge of that corner. Okay, come on. Technical difficulties. Hold on just a second. There we go. I'm just filing that, hitting this a little bit with my micromotor here, because I didn't like the way that looked. Okay, so I've got this little plaque. So tiny. It says home on it, which I thought was kind of appropriate. And I'm going to just dap this just a tiny bit to match the curve of the pipe. Oh, and one little side note on these things. Sometimes, I bought a bunch of these, and some of them are nice and smooth on the edge, and then there's something like this where it's kind of bumpy. So you might want to sand that down. Well, you should sand that down, so that way you can get a good solder joint. So that's just something I observed and wanted to pass that on to you. So I'm going to just curve this a little bit in my dapping block. It doesn't take much. And then, so it did curve it a little bit, but I think I'm going to just take my thumbs and press this down a little bit more, just so it fits a little bit snugger on the coupling. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to solder this little piece on here. Well, I see that I have some comments. I'm going to take a look here. Let's see. I can't read. Michelle says, I always tape down a piece of scrap next to my work before I stamp on a letter. I stamp the scrap. I don't trust my... That's a great idea, Michelle. Very, very good. If I watch enough of Sue's videos, I'll eventually remember that I have one of those sanding sticks in a drawer somewhere. You know, that's how it is. Yep. Okay, any other questions here? Hello to everyone. Okay. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to move along. And time to solder. So I have to get that stuff set up here. That'll only take a second. For this one, I didn't think about, there's a lot of stuff I didn't think about today. I thought I did. All right, we'll figure it out. All right, so I should have probably brought my third hand over, but I didn't. So we'll improvise. All right, for the little plaque, I'm going to use a little bit of hard solder on that. So I'm going to, where's my hard solder? Here, oh, here it is. Okay. All right, my flux. And I'm going with the hard solder first because I'm going to be soldering 3 times totally. And I want this, I don't want to have anything else come off when I'm soldering the next piece. So put my solder right here. And I just spritzed it with some flux. I'm going to hit it with my torch, warm it up. Oh. Operator error. And get my flux on there. All right, now I'm going to pick up my little piece of solder. And And that's all I need to do for that. All right, now you've seen me do this before. Normally I would put this in the pickle and let all that fire scale come off. But since we're doing these classes or demos, whatever, and we want to shorten the time so that it's not a super long time that you have to sit here and watch me, I will hit this with my flex shaft and just clean up that little area. Actually, it's not bad, but I want the solder to be able to stick to the other piece without any problem. Okay, so I just cleaned that off a little bit, but technically it would go in the pickle. All right, so now I want to attach that to my birdhouse. And I'm going to flux this and this. Actually, maybe I should have put a little bit more of that hard solder on there. That doesn't seem like a very big amount. Oh, live and learn. All right, let's do that again. I'm just going to add another little dot. And blow that off. Stay put. Okay. Oh, and I got the birdhouse caca. Oh, I think it'll be all right. Honestly. All right, let's see here. All right, we'll get it all worked out. Make sure you position your word in the right place. All right. And I'm going to use one of these little, I'm using a couple of them actually. These little hummingbird holders that one of our Facebook friends makes and sells, and I've got his name also listed in the handout because these things are wonderful. They are absolutely wonderful. So I would highly recommend them if you do much soldering. All right, so I'm going to solder this on. It's going to be kind of hard to tell when it's on because this piece is covering it, and I only put a little bit of solder in the center. So I'm going to guesstimate. I guess I should put this paper and stuff out of the fire's way. That might be a smart thing. Copper takes a lot more heat than silver does. Usually I don't like to get things this red, but sometimes you just have to with the copper. All right, now hopefully that took. Where's my pliers? Okay. All right, so remember all this stuff is screaming hot. All right, I'm gonna quench it. And yay, it's on. It is on. Okay, so I'm going to stick this in the pickle for just a couple minutes. Ooh, I splashed myself. All right, so let's see, Jennifer. Oh, geez, it has flux on it, though. Yeah, I think, you know, I think the fact that it had some flux on it was fine. Okay, any questions up until this point? At least you get to see my mistakes, you know, because I do make quite a few actually, but most of them are recoverable. So, all right. So now these things stay hot for a while, but I'm going to need them again. I'm going to put them on my bench block that I've got right here, and hopefully that'll help them cool down quickly. Because the next thing I'm going to do is solder on the base of the birdhouse. Oh no, I guess while we're waiting, I could dome the top, the roof of the birdhouse. And what I do with this is, you know, these mats, this craft mat or sewing mat or whatever, they're the ones with the grid lines and stuff. They are wonderful. They help you really line up things easily. Okay, let's see here. Hey, Al.
Yeah.
Lanny just tried to call, so she may try to keep calling me. Can you message her and tell her I'm busy, please? Thanks. Okay, so sorry about that, guys. So I center this up to make my center hole. And you know, right in the cross sections there. And I just eyeball where I want that hole to be. And mark it with the Sharpie. Now I am going to have this mark on the inside, not on the outside of my my roof, because I have found a lot of times when I make holes in something and then I dome it, the hole distorts. So, and I don't like that. So if you just do it with the hole mark in the underside, it works out better. All right, so I'm going to use my metal dapping block and my hammer. And I've got that other piece here, so I'm just going to use this as a, yeah, just to see if it's got enough curve in it. I may go down one more hole. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Just give it a little bit more curve. Okay. And yeah, that looks pretty good like that. All right, so now I will make the hole in here. I'm going to be using 20 gauge copper wire for the hanging hole, the wire wrap loop in there, which we'll get to that in a little bit. But I'm going to make this hole. If you punch it from the other way, more than likely you're going to dent the top. It kind of like pushes in a little bit. So I like to go from the bottom. It makes a better hole. makes it without any mess. So I am using the one, this is the wrong size. I'm using the 1.5 millimeter long reach punch because I'm using, actually if I had a little bit smaller diameter I would use that, but I don't have one. So this hole is going to be a little bit bigger for the wire that I'm using, but in this particular case it's not really going to matter much. All right, so I'm going to punch that hole. You have to wiggle these things out. They get stuck sometimes. Okay. And that might just need just a touch. Actually, you know, you could decorate the top as well. You could texture it or design stamp it if you liked. There's really no limit to what you can do if you have a good imagination. All right, so I'll just clean that up a little bit. Got that. Put this aside now. Check on the birdhouse. These hummingbirds have cooled off, so that's good. Ready. Oh, that one's a little bit warm, but not bad. All right, so the next thing is, get that out of the pickle. Get my base down here. I am going to use medium paste solder for soldering on the base. And I'm going to put a little bit here in my dish of the medium. And I've got some easy. I'm going to put that on the other side. I have them marked, but I don't think you can tell from your view. But I'll be putting on the roof with the easy. All right, let me grab the birdhouse. Oh, good. Looks good. All right. So it's starting to take form here. All right, so now I've got my base, and it's kind of difficult, at least for me, to line this up evenly all the way around. And I was thinking about that a little while ago, and I thought maybe if I inked this with a rubber stamp ink and stamped it, I don't know if that would work, I didn't try it, and then I could see where to put my solder paste, but then I thought that might interfere with the solder. I don't know. So we're just going to do it this way. So now I'm going to take the medium solder paste and just line the rim with it. And that's a little bit futzy. Sometimes it wants to stick and sometimes not. I haven't tried doing it with a brush. Maybe that would be the smarter way to do it. Maybe it would stay on a little bit better. The thing with the solder, though, on copper, I'm using silver solder, and it's going to show because, you know, it's silver. And we will get around that afterwards. We'll plate it. If you've watched my videos before, you'll see how I copper plate pieces. And you know, you never want to use more solder than necessary, but sometimes on some of these projects it kind of seems like you just have to. Now, I'm going to wipe off the outside edge because that does not need to be there right now. Got this on my fingers. Get that off. Okay. And hope for the best in lining it up. Nope, that's bad. Having your solder block on a little rotating thing is kind of nice for stuff like this, so you can see all the way around. I'm going to wipe that a little bit off. I guess that's futile. All right, so that's on there. Now here again, I'm going to use the little hummingbirds to hold this steady while I solder that to my base, because sometimes this stuff wants to scoot around. As soon as you hit the fire to it, the flame to it, it seems like it wants to move a little bit. Okay, so I think I've got that secured, and I'm going to solder this now. Actually, you know, it doesn't really need flux because it's got flux in the paste, but I am going to still put some on anyway because I think it's a good idea. All right, so let's get stuff that's flammable out of the way. I should have put a ceramic tile on my work surface, but I did not. You know, I may use the bigger guns for this. All right, so I'm going to warm it up all the way around. Whoa. That's snap, crackling, and popping there. Stand up on this so you can see all the way around here. But I could turn it. That's the whole point of this, I guess. Oh, I have to have my fume extractor on. When you're working with solder paste, you should always have good ventilation. It's really important. The stuff's got nasty stuff in it that you shouldn't be breathing. So make sure that you, if you don't have a fume extractor, open a window, have a fan pull out the fumes, because you've only got one set of lungs. And who knows if it hurts anything else too, so. This requires a lot of heat. Come on now. Well, finally, I think we're getting there. All right, I'm going to check it. I'm not entirely sure I got everywhere. I sure as heck should have, but I'm not convinced. I'm going to grab another hot plate. Ugh, my raunchy old brick. Well, here's the test. Hallelujah, it's on. It should have been for all that heat that I gave it, but I just wasn't seeing the solder flow like I expected. So, but it was in there. Okay, so now this is going to go into the pickle again for a couple of minutes, and then we will put the roof on. All right. Okay, what fume extractor do I use? I have a little, let's see if I can bring it around here. Let's see here. It looks like this. Can you see that okay? And if I had it a little closer to where I was working, it probably would be optimal, but I am very cramped in my little space here that I'm working on. So I bought this years ago when I was doing some stained glass work, and kind of forgot about it. And then as I was watching some of these videos, I thought, hey, I've got one of those, and pulled it out. So I use it all the time now when I use the solder paste, or paste solder, I should say. All right, so you're welcome, Linda. Jennifer says, I spent the other day soldering and resoldering, so you're not alone. Yeah, I know it happens. I know it does. Sometimes the solder gods just aren't with you. But, you know, if you persevere, things always seem to work out. And have the right tools, too. And patience. So those all help. All right. So I am so happy that my refrigerator is going to be working now. And I can, once we get done with the broadcast, I'm going to go upstairs and start preparing things for tomorrow. I was afraid that that was going to be a real pain for tomorrow. Usually, I don't make that many things ahead of time on Wednesday, but I get my sweet potatoes baked and cut up all my vegetables and saute them for the stuffing, and you know, do little things like that ahead of time. But I have cooked Thanksgiving dinner probably a good 40 years, and I've always enjoyed that holiday and making that meal. I don't find it that difficult, even though there's a lot of food going on, but a lot of that stuff's pretty easy to prepare, at least the stuff that I fix, and my family's all happy with it, so it's a win-win. But you know, being the state of affairs right now with the pandemic, I'm not having anyone over for dinner, but I am still cooking for everyone, so I'm delivering meals to my family members tomorrow, and that's just the way we're going to have to do it this year. And I'd rather be safe than sorry. My dad's 95, and I don't want him to exposed to any more stuff than absolutely necessary. I would feel absolutely horrible if I was responsible for his demise, getting COVID or something like that. So that's what we decided to do, and it's doable. It's doable. It's not ideal, but it's just the way it's going to be this year. So anyway, okay, so the next steps that we're going to do is we're going to solder the roof on. Then I am going to take a piece of 20 gauge wire that I am going to ball the end, one of the ends of this on, and then thread it through the hole. And then the bald end will end up at the top of the cap, and then we'll wire wrap the top loop. I'll add a couple of little cutesy things, a little copper daisy disc and a little 3 or 4 millimeter copper ball on there and close up the loop. We also need to patina it, and we have to make sure that we get all the pickle out from inside. Rinse it really good. You'll have 2 holes. You'll have the bird hole and the roof hole. So you should be able to get it rinsed out really well. And then I like to use some canned air, and I blow out all the rest of the remaining moisture in there. And it all works out pretty good. You can tumble it if you want. If I was going to tumble it, I'd do it after it's all complete and got the patina on it. And I don't know, I just think they're really cute. I really enjoy them. Okay, so let's check on that pickle. Let's see if it's enough. Oh, we have to plate it too. I forgot about that. Because that solder, that stubborn solder. Oh, now I can see all the solder. Ooh, oh boy. Okay, you see that? There's a considerable amount of solder on here. All right, I am going to use this I'm wrapped up here. Okay. This wire brush. Whoa. It's crying. That's pretty noisy. Oh. Alright. That really didn't do much of anything, so. Okay. Let's try this. Got a coarse white rubber wheel. You have to be really careful with these though, because they can dig a groove into your metal, and you don't want that. But these take off that solder fairly well. But you never get it all off, and that's why I end up plating the piece. I should have my mask on right now. I guess it doesn't really matter that I'm doing this right at this point because I still have to do the roof. But it's going to have to come out off eventually. Oh, okay. Oh, and I want to hit that. No, I guess I can do that with steel wool. Down here far enough. So I'm just cleaning off that lip, that top rim on here, so I get ready to solder the top on. Get rid of my flammables here. And here again, but I'm going to use the easy solder paste now. And put that on the top. And hopefully I will not melt off the other pieces that I soldered on. Theoretically, they should not, but sometimes when you over apply heat, it happens anyway. At least in my world, it does. And maybe that's, I'm not doing something right. I don't know, but I pretty much am a person that flies by the seat of my pants. So I hope I don't teach you bad habits, but I just can't overly futz on certain things. It drives me bananas. This one won't show as much as the one on the bottom, since this is going to have like a hanging lip over it, but still, you still want it to look nice and not have a lot of solder cleanup. Okay. It's funny, it's when the stuff gets warm, when the solder paste gets warm, it kind of melts, which does kind of help in a way. All right, now I'm going to place this on top. And here again is where trying to line it up perfectly is sometimes quite difficult because, ooh, this is a little warm. Because it wants to tip a little bit. It doesn't want to sit entirely evenly. And then as soon as I put those hummingbirds on there, they're gonna move again. So I'll just do the best that I can. Let me just put one on here. Now this has the center, I'm covering up the top hole, but it's got the center hole for air release. So nothing should blow up from, you see it looks great in the front, but the back looks like a little bit tipped. All right, I'm going with that. And here goes nothing. Get it all nice and warm. See how that smokes? That's just the nature of that paste solder. I think that roof moved a little bit. It's very possible that it did, but I didn't see it happen. All right. All right, here goes nothing. It's on. It's a miracle. It is a little bit crooked, but I'm okay with that. Okay, so it's going to go back in the pickle. Hey, Brenda. You can always replay. You know that. And watch it later on. Today's a busy day for a lot of people. Okay. Anybody doing anything exciting for the holiday tomorrow? Those of us who celebrate Thanksgiving. I know there's some that don't. Out of the U.S. don't, but we used to have a nice family tradition when the kids were little, have all the cousins over and stuff, and we had the usual turkey dinner fare and all that stuff. But then for a lot of years when the kids were small, we'd make candied apples after dinner, after we'd clean up the major mess, and then we would make another mess, and the kids absolutely loved doing that. It was a lot of fun. It was good memories, and I kind of miss them not being little anymore, but in a way I'm kind of relieved too. So And now it's grandkids. So, Deb, you're having clams and linguine in red sauce. Oh, that sounds wonderful. That sounds wonderful. Yum. Oh, okay. Well, Deb knows that I'm from an Italian family, and my mom's gone now, but when she was alive and well and able to cook dinners, she made massive spreads for holidays. Actually, Sunday dinner was always a massive spread, and she would make a roast of some sort, either a chicken or a beef roast or a pork roast, but spaghetti or some type of pasta was always a first course uh, with our Sunday meal. That's just the way it was. And when my husband and I were first dating and he came over for dinner, he couldn't believe the amount of food and spaghetti and a roast. You know, it was like in his house, it was either you just had spaghetti or you just had a roast, and that's probably pretty normal for most people. But not in an Italian family. There's always more, always. So, but I don't do that. I just don't do that. First of all, we don't need that much food. We just don't. Um, and that's why, I look the way I look because I like food. I grew up with what I consider like the best food in the world. And, it's hard to break those habits, but something's got to give because, um, I just can't eat like that anymore. I have the will, I have the desire, uh, but um, it's just not a good way, especially as you're getting older, So, so there you have it. So when we have Thanksgiving dinner, we don't have pasta. We just have the traditional turkey dressing, mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, green bean casserole, uh, all the starches, all the carbs, and we're just in a carb coma afterwards. But for the day, it's wonderful. I really look forward to it. So, all right. Tammy, I wanted to go home to Northwest Indiana to visit my family, but with COVID spiking, we're not going anywhere. Making the candy apple sound so great. It was, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Good memories for the kids too. They always enjoyed that. As they got older, they didn't care so much, but as kids, they did enjoy it. I'm sorry you can't go home, Tammy, but a lot of us can't do those things. So, um, yeah. Oh, and my sister, I would cook everything, but my sister would always bring the pies, always the pies, and it wasn't just pumpkin pie. We'd have other pie too. So uh, it truly was a food coma afterwards. So uh, yeah, Jennifer, totally relate. I can totally relate. Oh, that's nice. That sounds really nice, Linda. Yeah, Linda, well, you've been on this journey with me with the refrigerator, and it's been a pain in the butt. It has worked out. I mean, we made it work. I mean, what are you going to do? But being the food hoarders that we are, I mean, we've got a full size freezer in the basement and two small dorm size refrigerators, uh, plus the regular refrigerators upstairs. But like I said, that refrigerator, the normal one, is not as big as most traditional refrigerators. So always we would put, like the beer, pop, wine, water in the dorm coolers or fridges, and then have room just for foodstuffs. But yeah, I mean, there's like I have like an inner squirrel in the fall. My inner squirrel comes out, and it's like I've got to have all this food in the house in case we get snowed in, or there's another Great Depression, or who knows. My dad's the same way, but he did live through a depression. So you go over to his house, and his basement is stocked with all kinds of canned goods, and he has another refrigerator and freezer downstairs, and he's by himself. But I guess you get into that mentality, that mindset, and you just want to make sure you have enough, have all the food. Oh dear. All right, let's see here. All right, so I'm rinsing out the pickle from the birdhouse. And shaking it out quite a bit because I know there's water in there. Hi, Cindy. Glad you could join us. Okay, we're going back down here. All right. So that's all on. The house, the roof is a little bit tipped to the back, but I think it's still okay. I mean, I could be fussy and take it off. I could resolder it and take it off, but I'm not. So we're gonna leave it like that. So I'm gonna clean it up a bit, and I'm just using some steel wool. Oh, where can I put this thing? I guess behind here. Oh, okay. Just gonna clean this up. Thank you, Cindy. I miss seeing you. You guys are so far away, you and Jeannie. I used to have a physical shop in a town not too far from where I live. And I met so many wonderful people during my time there. I had the shop for 5 years, and I probably have said this before, but I initially rented the place for a studio for myself because I was outgrowing the room that I had in my house. I just had like a spare bedroom, and that just really wasn't sufficient. So I got a real affordable rent in a little town nearby and moved in. And once I was there, people would start coming in and wanting to know what this place was, and I was okay with that. And I thought, well, I'll start, teaching some classes. And I did. I did out of necessity because I realized early on that after I was there a little while that I was not going to make enough money doing my own thing there to pay the rent all the time. So I decided to start doing classes, and then I made some friendships with other people and met other people that taught different techniques, and I'd get them in, and we had a nice variety of classes available. But 5 years into it, my house burned down, which had nothing to do with anything that I did, thankfully. But we had it started in the garage, and the house burned down. So when we decided, well, when we decided to rebuild, or when we rebuilt, we decided to put in a studio in this house. And it just made perfect sense. It's like, why pay rent when I can plan out my own place and I can go in my studio in my pajamas and work anytime that is convenient for me without having to go anywhere. So it just made sense. But it took me a long while before I decided to have classes here because, number one, I mean, it would have been fine for all the people that I already had formed relationships with, but I really kind of didn't want people I didn't know coming into my home. So, and they would actually have to walk through my house to get to my studio. So I didn't think, my husband wasn't comfortable with that either. So up until, oh gosh, maybe about a year ago, I decided, well, you know, I'm going to just start having some classes. And I was traveling doing classes at different shops, but I thought, well, I'll just take the plunge and start having classes. And I had a few. And then we got hit with the pandemic. So that kind of put everything on hold again. So hopefully when this thing is over, or the major threat is over, then I can start having classes again. But yeah, Carol, it was a lot of fun. I met a lot of you guys through the shop, and it's great. It's I think they're lasting friendships. They really are. So okay, all right. So this little guy is cleaned up. And I am going to, I mean, he could be cleaned up a little better. There are still some areas, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to plate it. So what I mean by that is I have some old pickle that's turned blue, and I am going to put some of that, hang on just a second. I am going to put some of that blue pickle in this little Pyrex cup, and I'm going to put some old steel wool in here. I save all my old scraps that are all kind of gnarly and crumbly. I save them all for this purpose. So I'm taking some hot pickle, putting the steel wool in, using my copper tongs, and I'm going to stick this guy in there and kind of cover him up. Actually, I need a little bit more pickle. That's kind of shy. So, hang on just a sec. I'll be right back. I have to get something else to dig out some more pickle here. Top this off a little bit. There we go. All right. So we do that. And this is, I guess, gathering the copper molecules that was in the pickle pot. And we'll plate the silver solder with copper. And I generally leave it in about 10 minutes, but I am not going to leave it in that long for today, just for demonstration purposes. And then I'll move on to the other part. But that's how this is done, okay? But you leave it in there till you see it kind of turns a different color a little bit. But it covers all that solder line. Okay, so now I'm going to flush this out real good. Like I said, I usually leave it about 10 minutes, but I'm cutting it short for today. All right. Get that out of the way. Now I'm going to I guess, you know, I'm blowing out the air, but really it's going to go into the liver of sulfur, so it's going to get wet again. But for the final thing, I will blow that out again. Okay. All right, so now we have two things left to do. That is just to put this wire through here, which is a little tricky, but I'm going to insert it through the top hole. Actually, it wasn't tricky at all. And have it come out the big hole. And then I'm going to ball up the wire. All right, so I've got my utility pliers and get my torch. Okay, well, how am I going to do that? I have to hold on to this. And I lost my wire. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to do that. Just heat up the tip of that wire and it turns into a ball. It'll just draw up. You want the tip of the wire on the tip of the flame. See how it starts to ball up like that? And I'd like it to be just a little bit larger. There we go. Okay. And quench it. Okay. So now we have a balled end on the wire. All right, so that's not going to now I can hang my birdhouse. Okay. All right, let me see here. What kind of pickle do I use? I use, gosh, what's the name of it? It's from a Pool Supply. Joni Kisro mentioned it on one of her lives, and I'll put that down in the notes, okay, Tammy, because I don't remember the name of it. It was something real simple, but I can't remember it. But it works really fast. It works really fast if you put enough stuff in it. Okay. Okay, so now I've got my wire in here. I'm going to put a little copper daisy disc. This was overkill on the wire that I cut. Little copper daisy disc on there, and I'm going to put a little copper ball on top of that. And grab my pliers. It's not pH down, it's something else. But that might just be a brand name, I don't know. All right, so I'm going to put my round nose pliers on top of my bead and push the wire away from me. Actually, I'm going to trim off a piece of this wire because that's just too much. That's overkill. All right, so to do this wire wrap loop, if you don't know how, I've got a video on the Artisans Workshop page that you can see. I think I tried to put it in the files on our group page, but I don't think I was successful on that. But you can find it on the Artisans Workshop for sure. Okay, so I'm going to make my wire wrapped loop. And I don't know how well you can see, how well you can see me do this, but okay, now I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and wrap around the base of that loop till you get to that ball, the copper bead, and you want it nice and snug up against that copper bead. You don't want to leave any space, otherwise this thing's going to be flopping around, that hook, or the loop, I mean. And snip that off. And push in the little piece that I cut off from, just so it's not sticking out. And sometimes you need to straighten it up just a little bit after you've bent it around. It's not perfect, but it's okay. Neither am I. And that's it. So now I'm just going to dunk it in the liver of sulfur and clean it up with some steel wool. I'll get my liver of sulfur ready here. Hot water. Oh, great, my stick's in there. In the nice boiling water. Okay. Just put a little bit of liver of sulfur in there. Stick that in there. I could have used a much smaller container for this. I don't know what I was thinking. Apparently, I wasn't thinking. Tammy, on the plating of the copper, the only, in honesty, now that I think about it, I have 2 pickle pots, and one I have citric acid pickle. That's what I was using before this other pool stuff. And the citric pickle is what I'm using to plate. I honestly haven't tried it with the pool chemical because I still had the other pot that was blue, you know, old, and I've been using that up. And I figured I'd use that because I already knew that worked. And so there you go. That might be a reason. I really can't say for certain, but that might have something to do with that. All right, get this stinky stuff out of the way. You saw how fast that worked. Okay, so now this is where I would blow out the water. Okay, this canned air is wonderful. I love it. It's expensive, but I love it. It works for so many things. Oh, and I just used my oh no, I didn't. I was gonna say I used my steel wool in the plating, but no, I didn't. All right, almost done, folks. All right, so now I'm just gonna give this a little cleanup with the steel wool. You can take off as much as you want. But if you scrub too hard, you'll pretty much take it all off. So you want to have a little contrast. You could even make your lettering a little bit darker if you wanted. I don't know why it got dark in here. I didn't touch anything and it got dark. And then you could throw this in the tumbler. However, you've got this hole that you're going to get shot stuck in. So I would, gosh, what would you put in there? I'd wedge something in there, maybe a pipe cleaner, or, fold it up or something, wedge something in there that's not going to come out in the tumbler, but you want to take that into consideration so that you don't get those little pellets of shot stuck in there. Or maybe you'd like it. Maybe it'd be like a little jingle bell. I don't know. But that's easy enough. Or you could use that verdigris patina, the paint pen or whatever. You could use that on there, maybe on the lettering or something, just to give a little bit of contrast. But there you go. That's the little birdhouse project from today. It worked. It's not perfect, but hell, none of the stuff I make is perfect, but that's kind of the fun of it too, is that it's homemade. It's not cookie cutter made or factory made, but there's a lot of possibilities you could do with that. For anybody who was just joining us and didn't see the beginning, there are variations you can make. I'll just do this briefly. You can add a Vintage makes these little brass or bronze, I think they're brass, twigs that you could wire wrap onto there, and you can hang a little bird and crystal or something else if you wanted to do that. Or you could take one of the colored patinas and patina your birdhouse. I should have put a jump ring on this, because his little loop, there we go, his little loop was getting stuck. You could put that patina on there as well for a different look. So lots of possibilities, guys. There's lots of stuff you can do. My buddy Rhonda, who comes over, well, she doesn't come over now, but she did come over. Every Friday I had a group of girls come by. Well, not every Friday, but a lot of Fridays that I've been getting together with for years. And we do a lot of stuff together and kind of encourage each other, to try different things. And she comes up with some great stuff sometimes too, and we share all that stuff. But that's the end of this demo. But what I'm thinking for next week is to do another enamel. Oh, wait a second, Tammy. I did etch those. Those birdhouses initially were etched. Totally doable, kind of fun. Can't put those through the rolling mill, but you can etch them and get nice designs on there. So yeah. So anyway, next week I'm thinking about doing some enameling. I'm running out of ideas. I've got to get some other ideas going. But I had these pendants that I had made a while back, and these are made with iron or steel wire, and enamels. And you just kind of make shapes with the wire, and then dip them in the enamel red hot, and lo and behold, the enamel sticks. And you can design them however you want. I just I don't know, I put this little sari ribbon on there and some enamel beads on there, but and then they're on leather cords. So it's an idea, but that's what I was thinking of, maybe doing something with enamel, this next week. And there again, if there's other things that you can think of, other ideas that you want me to present, I'd be happy to consider them and see if it's something that I can do. And and we'll go from there, because like I said, every week it's a different project, and I could use some help as far as ideas, so that would be good. Yeah, so that's going to be it. Have I done etching in a demo? I did. One of the first demos that I did, that's in the group, I did do on etching. I didn't etch those tubes, but yeah, the basic principles are in that, at least the way I do it. There's different techniques of etching, but if you look back in the videos, even in the files, because the handout will be there, you can see what I used on there, Tammy. So I hope that helps. Hey, Rhonda, you're just getting on now? I was just talking about you. Good stuff. Anyway, so that's going to be it for this demo this week. I hope you all have a lovely holiday tomorrow as best you can. I know things are different than they normally are, quite different. And for those of you who don't celebrate Thanksgiving, have a happy Thursday and rest of the week. And I will see you guys in the group. And oh, here's another question. How do you etch with the tube? Well, you have to stand it up. So you have to make sure that you have a deep enough etchant in your little tank. But we can go over that. So that's an idea too. So, all right. Okay, guys. So we'll see you next Wednesday, and I'll see you in the group. Post things that you make, please. I saw this week we had a few people actually posting some of their projects, and I really appreciate that. I think it's fun to see what you guys are making. And tell your friends that don't know about this group, and get more action happening here. All right. See you guys. Happy Turkey Day.